So moving with this same thing, I would like to speak on it. That let us start with the second slide. We find these toxic people everywhere. As per our own definition, we come across these toxic people in each and every area of our life. Now here there are different circles, okay, and the heading is intensity of toxicity. So how much toxicity we experience with different people in different areas. So let us see outer circle. The outer circle is society, group members, maid and subordinates. So these are the people. There are few people in the society. There are few people where in groups, social groups, friends groups, we comes across, uh, we confront them and we experience their toxicity, how they behave, how they, maybe they are very well mannered, good behaved, but still we find that they are hindering our peace of mind or progress. But the intensity is very, very less. It's not too much. It's like that we, for sometimes we get disturbed with them, our mind get disturbed, we lose the peace of mind. But again, after a few hours, we regain it or we can let go it. The inner circle, that is the second circle, is colleague, co-workers, boss. That is, we generally we confront them into our offices, at our workplaces, neighbors, friends, and relatives. So these are the people. We know there are few relatives, we cannot ignore them, and still we have to handle. We have to handle their behavior, their thinking process, and as we indulge with them, again we find that we have created negativity in our head. And there are friends also, there are neighbors also. So this is more intense than the outer circle. This is more intense because it affects a major part of our mental health. It is for few hours or few days, so it is little bit more intense than the outer one. And now comes the inner circle, that is family members, loved ones, the people with whom we live, and we cannot move away from them because they are our own members, our own family members. Intensity is here more than both the circles. Our peace of mind gets affected on a greater level. We might lose our emotional balance. Our emotional health might deteriorate. Mental health might deteriorate. So this is the most intense circle as per the diagram. So do you all agree? I think we have experienced this like this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. So now comes, uh, see what we, this session we have gathered that what are the ways to deal with these people, but we cannot come to conclusion. We cannot we cannot put any specific criteria that how to deal with people, because every person is different and the ways to confront these people are also different. There are no fixed formulas, there are only general guidelines. So before learning those general guidelines, we must know what is it, what is actually, what is toxicity, and what are these toxic people. Is it our understanding is right, or we have to understand something more? We must go deep into this subject. So I am moving on to the next slide. Characteristics of a toxic person. So what are the characteristics? I have just put general characteristic. First is dominates frequently. The person tries to dominate. Sorry. Pinpoints mistakes. So he is really eager to pinpoint mistakes every now and then. Complains frequently. We can listen more complaints rather than listening gratitude or something like that. He complains frequently on even on very small matters. She complains frequently. Blames unnecessarily. So we get blames from such people often. Criticizes publicly. Sometimes that person also criticizes publicly and humiliates us. Comments disgracefully. Comments not only on us but also on others. We find disgraceful speech and behavior or body language through his comments. Gossiping, dominating, and emotional blackmailing. So these are the characteristics of a toxic person. If we generally we find that the person who is having such characteristics is very toxic. Toxic means, can someone put one word in one sentence that what is toxic person? Why we call that person toxic? In one line, I could say that he is very difficult to handle. We cannot handle that person, and that is the toxic person.
Create negative emotions.
Yes, can you say again?
Creating negative emotions within
See,
ourselves.
creating. Very nice point. Creating negative emotions. Now, negative emotions are being created in us. That is inside us. So all these characteristics creates negative emotions inside us, and because it is creating negative emotions inside us, so we are calling that person toxic person. So all these characteristics, either one of them is inside him or all are them inside that person, and that creates mental disturbance into our mind, and we feel that it's not good for our mental health. Most common characteristic, the characteristic which is hidden behind all other characteristics. I have put question mark here. So I am going to discuss this characteristic at the end of the session. I just want to ponder over it, that what is that common characteristic we find in all such toxic people. Now we have found out the characteristic, that how a toxic person looks. But now we need to find what are the reasons. So I'm moving ahead. So reasons for a toxic person. The first one is over possessiveness. So person is not toxic by himself, but he has all these feelings inside him. He is over possessive in so many areas, about work, about perfection, about uh, about the ways to handle people, about ways, about if he is a family member, he is very possessive about his family members. Second one is being fearful. So there is so much fear inside that person that uh, he cannot let other person, he cannot give freedom to other persons. He is fearful about so many outcomes, so he cannot allow other persons to behave with freedom. Third is insecurity. The person is very much insecure. He is insecure about losing his position or the people whom he loves. So because of this insecurity, he doesn't allow person to enjoy his freedom, and he dominates the other person. Fourth is overcaring. Fifth is feeling of unworthiness. The toxic person himself is going through the feeling of unworthiness. So again and again, he is outbursting his own ill feelings. Next is failures. He might have failed often in his life. Next is childhood trauma. The person has experienced so much trauma in his childhood. Next is victim of toxic behavior. So he himself is victim of toxic behavior from someone else, and he is passing the same behavior to others. Shameful or shocking experiences. Maybe he has gone through some such experiences he couldn't reveal to anyone, and he is so much shocked inside, and uh, he cannot express all these experiences to anyone, and so that as a side effect he has become a toxic personality. And last one is clinical depression, which is undiagnosed. Maybe he is having depression, but it is not known to anyone. Sometimes such depression comes as a person, the person is very much active in his life in so many areas, but it's a type of depression also. So everyone can understand, I hope all you can relate with these things, you can understand these things.
Yeah, Kamlesh.
So why I'm going through all these things, that understanding the person himself is very much necessary. We don't have to understand ourselves only, but we are also trying to understand the person who is toxic by nature. So next slide, the new age name for toxic behavior. So if you have read Eckhart Tolle's book, he is clearly mentioning the pain body. So what is pain body? Every person's behavior is inspired or ignited by emotions and perceptions she carries with him. So whenever a person is behaving in a certain way, he is not doing it intentionally or consciously. It is just driven by his emotions and perceptions. And it is with every person. We cannot say that it is with one person or two person. It is almost with every person. Second point is every person has some amount of toxicity, and it becomes visible when that person's ego is hurt. तो अगर बोला जाए कि हम सब में कुछ ना कुछ प्रमाण में टॉक्सिसिटी है, हम में वो बर्ताव है हमारे अंदर. टॉक्सिक बिहेवियर इज देयर इनसाइड ईच वन ऑफ अस. मे बी the amount of toxicity is very much less or negligible, and it becomes visible only when our ego is hurt. So the toxic person's toxicity comes out often when that person's ego is hurt, and also when not hurt, because the toxic person wants to fulfill his egoistic desire. So this is called pain body. It pain body arises frequently in that toxic person, and he wants to dominate other through his toxic behavior, but he is not conscious about this. It is happening unconsciously. This part is very much important. Many times toxicity is relative and not absolute. What we may say that that person is toxic, or another person is toxic, but this is only a relative perception and not the absolute fact. So how can we know? The following are the facts. The person who is toxic for us need not be toxic for others. We have found that the person whom we call a toxic person is very much dear to other people. Many people wants to meet him, many people wants to talk to him, many people wants their company. So he is toxic for us but not toxic for others. Second point is labeling a toxic person toxic doesn't solve our problem. So just by labeling that person, our problem will not get solved. Every toxic person has a soft corner which has not been explored yet. So what has happened that our focus is totally on the toxicity of that person, and we couldn't found any good area of that person, good qualities of that person, good virtues of that person, and the soft corner of that person. We couldn't find it yet, and our focus has only been on the toxicity of that person. Sometimes it is easy to say someone toxic rather than introspecting one's own self. So it may happen in many times that we couldn't expect or introspect our own inner self, inner child, or our own area of speech and behavior, and we just could easily found out who is the toxic person around us. So this way, we sometimes label people as toxic, but it doesn't solve our problem, because without understanding toxicity, it's impossible to get away from it. The most possible solution that we find or we talk about is that cutting off from that toxic person. But let us see, does it work or not? Cut off from toxic people is not possible always. A fish cannot move away from waters if waters are dirty, and birds cannot escape from wind if air is polluted. Right? So running away is not the solution. Running away from negativity is a temporary solution and not permanent one. We will find toxic people in every corner of the world. So what is the first hand solution? The first hand solution is we must develop mental muscles of clarity, firmness, healthy boundaries, emotional well-being, and tricky solutions. Tricky, so tricky solutions works many times. They create miracles. If we use little bit of trick in our communication, in our speech, then we can handle these people who are toxic. So is everything understandable? I think everything is being understood. Can anyone give your feedback? Please, can you give your feedback that how it's helpful to know all these things, or it's not important till now? Yes, Rupanjali said yes, it's helpful.
Yeah, we actually subconsciously we sometimes feel that we should do this or we should do that, but what you have written here in the slides are will give clarity that sometimes what we think is correct.
So we actually generally what we want solutions, right? And the age is 2 minutes Maggie noodles age. We want solution instantly, and this is the area where we don't get solutions so easily, because we don't know how to ha- actually we don't know how to handle our own thoughts and emotions. Then how is it possible to handle the other person's thought process? So it's very much difficult. Now the next slide I'm going to show you, that is the one which we showed earlier in the beginning of the session. Most common characteristic, the correct which is the most common characteristic let me go again in the beginning of the session, that characteristics of a toxic person are dominating, pinpointing mistakes, complaining frequently, blaming, criticizing, commenting disgracefully, gossiping, emotionally blackmailing. So these are common characteristics, but there is one characteristic which is behind, which is hidden. So let us see what is it. So the characteristic which is hidden behind all other characteristic is he is superior or senior to us, either in status, position, or relation. Why this point is most important? Because it is psychological. How it is psychological? That for us, people are not toxic when they are our subordinates, when they are junior to us, when when they are low in status or in position. So we don't actually, the toxicity doesn't affect us. Why? Because we have power to handle them. We have a say over their word, right? But when they are superior or senior to us in either of any areas, then we feel helpless. Why we feel helpless? Because we feel that crossing our boundary might affect our position, our relation, our status, our connections, and this may defame us in certain way in society. So when the person is superior and toxic, then it is a problem. But if person is junior, then this is not a problem. Do you all agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Right? So we can know that it is more of a psychological rather than a factual problem. That we cannot handle a person in a certain position. Otherwise, we can handle a toxic person. If a toxic person inside a bank, and we go into the bank and we know that person is just talking something in disgracefully, then we can handle that person. We can know how to get our work done. So it's easy because we don't have so much we are not connected with that person. Only where we cannot do is that the person is senior to us in some of the ways. Solutions. So I have written to be continued. Solutions doesn't become solid unless roots of the problem is addressed. Introspection and awareness solidifies solutions. So introspection and awareness, these are the two tools through which our solutions get solid. Otherwise, even solutions doesn't work. Thank you for joining the session, awaiting your feedbacks. So after the session, you can all share your feedbacks regarding the session. This is part 1, and we will come up with part 2 once you all show your interest, that how it helped you, how this all these insights can help you. So before ending the session, let me share something from YouTube. Okay, anyone wants to say something before I share through the screen? I couldn't read all the chats while I was speaking, but let me see. Unpredictable behavior, insecurity. It is very well put. I realized in my experience that changing our own belief system helps. From Hesha Mohta. Okay, very nice. Very well explained. Looking forward to the solution part. Okay, solution part will come. Definitely it will come. So let us go through two short videos.
Hi friends, hope all of you are doing well. I'm Diwanji from Diwanji on Life Secrets. We are going through the series of Facing the Reality. Hi friends, hope all of you are doing well. I'm Diwanji from Diwanji on Life Secrets. We are going through the series of Facing the Reality. Today we will discuss about the reality of the persons around us. Let us talk about the persons whom we cannot avoid and we have to live with them anyhow. We cannot replace our children, parents, siblings, teachers, boss, spouse, and so many around us. That is the reality. We have to accept them as they are. Of course, we can avoid and get rid of such relations too, but that will not be so easy. Now the question is, how to face the reality and live with such persons with whom we are not comfortable and on the other hand we cannot avoid them too. In such cases, even after knowing the habits of the people around us, we still keep on analyzing and finding their faults. There is no meaning to test an iron rod repeatedly and expect the quality of gold from the iron rod. If we know the quality of a particular person, why do we need to prove it frequently? Just accept them as they are and expect the behavior same as the quality they preserve. Let us try to grow with the persons around us instead of just criticizing them. Let us not stick to small issues due to people around us and hinder our growth. World is too big to interact with. In the next video, we will discuss about facing the reality of our strength and weakness. We have to trust our strength and accept our weakness to work upon it. I will appreciate your valuable comments and please suggest me if you have any points to discuss in our upcoming videos. May God bless all of us with the highest wisdom of this world. See you in the next video. Till then, bye-bye.
In a certain company, a young employee went to the HR head and said, "I can't work here any longer. I want to quit this job." The HR head asked, "Why? Please tell me what happened. The whole atmosphere is so toxic to my mind," replied the young man. "There are people here who are into a lot of politics. Then there are those who talk negative all the time. Some spend most of their time gossiping than working. I don't think I can handle this any longer." The HR head said, "Okay, but I have a request to make before you leave." The man asked, "Please tell me, what can I do for you, sir?" The HR head said, "I want you to do this one last thing sincerely. I want you to take a glass of water filled to the brim and walk around the office area 3 times without spilling a single drop of water on the floor. After that, you may leave the job if you wish." Though it sounded weird, the man thought it was just a matter of few minutes anyways. He took a glass full of water and walked 3 times around the office floor. He then came to the HR head to tell him that he was done. The HR head asked, "When you were walking around the office floor, did you see any employee speaking badly about another employee? Any gossips? Any disturbances?" The man replied, "No." The HR head further asked, "Did you see any employee looking at another employee in a wrong way?" "No," replied the young man. And you know why? Asked the HR head. Because you were focused on the glass to make sure you didn't tip over and spill any water. And the same goes with our life. When we focus on our priorities, we don't have the time to see all the drama around us, the mistakes of others, gossip, politics, negativity, etc. The fact is, anywhere we go, we're going to find toxic people. Change of job or change of situation doesn't necessarily ensure freedom from such people. We should certainly do what we can to positively change things around us. But when we know that we've done our best and things still remain more or less the same, we should shift our focus to the glass of water, our priorities, our growth, our excellence, and then we won't be as much affected by the negativity around us. And if it is absolutely beyond our capacity to handle, we may actually need a change, knowing well that the new job or the new situation will bring fresh complexities along with them as well.
So almost our session is done, and before we go for the next session, some maybe in a later week, I want you all to do homework that as it is shown in the video, that when the person's attention is over the glass, that is his work, then his attention doesn't go towards the people around him. So now let us know what is that catches our attention, why our attention goes to these people whom we call toxic, why our attention go towards them, why we judge them, why we scrutinize them, why we get affected only because our attention is going there. So what are the reasons to pay attention to all these people, and how much attention is needed to be given? So this may be our homework for introspection and coming for the next session. So if anyone wants to say something, it's just more less than 30 seconds.
Thank you, Kamlesh.
Welcome.
Thank you, Kamlesh ji. Thank you so much. It's really wonderful and it's very well explained.
Thank you, Poonamji.
Maybe we are not satisfied in our life, so we look towards others.